I don't see my microphone. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, nope, you're going in through the wrong thing. We're not going to do that. Ugh. Oh, exit it out for now. Bam. This self. What? Where is my microphone? Where is my microphone? Mr. Yeti. Mr. Yeti. I do not see you, Mr. Yeti. What's going on here, Mr. Yeti? What's going on here, friend? My putty, my pal. My putty, my pal. My buddy, my pal. Maybe you are on the correct microphone already. I do not know. I do not know. Who are you? Are you just pulling my strings? Hmm? Yeti. Hmm. Okay, we're good. I verified the Yeti is on, and we're back to complete today's study-a-thon. What's up, chat? I have never eaten my food. I'm going to eat a little bit. I have never eaten my food this whole time. I was doing other stuff. Never eaten my food this whole time. Mm-mm-mm. Mm. One more bite, okay? Just one more bite. One more bite. And we'll get right into it, okay? Mm. I'll see you later. Little watermelon to wash it down. I don't know. I'll see you through the read, baby. Mm. Mm-mm-mm. Yeah. Mm. Okay, is everybody ready? Have we had meals? Are we locked in? Are the brains ready to continue to read? Have I cleaned my mouth thoroughly enough to read? Think so. Think so. Think so. All right, is everybody ready? Okay, I'm ready. Exam objectives 2.3 explain various types of vulnerabilities. Vulnerabilities are introduced from various sources such as flaws in operating system design, errors in its code, or insecure default settings. Attackers can exploit these vulnerabilities to gain unauthorized access, disrupt operations, or steal sensitive information. To address these concerns, developers and security professionals must employ secure coding practices, perform regular vulnerability assessments, and implement robust access controls. It is also essential to keep third party components up to date and follow provider specific security and recommendations. By understanding and proactively managing these vulnerabilities, organizations can ensure the security and reliability of their web and cloud based applications, safeguarding valuable data and resources from potential cyber attacks. Okay, now let's get into it. I need to close a little side tab. How much we have? Just not too much left, actually, of this chapter. All right. Operating systems, vulnerabilities. OS operating systems. Excuse me. One of the most critical components of any infrastructure, so vulnerabilities in an OS can lead to significant problems when successfully exploited. Ooh, Am I going to read all of this? Absolutely. Microsoft Windows has an extensive feature set and broad user base, especially among large organizations and governments. Its vulnerabilities often include buffer overflows, input validation problems, and privilege flaws typically exploited to install malware, steal information, or gain unauthorized access. Windows is an important target for attackers because of its large install base. Large corporations and governments heavily depend upon it, which compounds the significance of its vulnerabilities. That is true. Windows is it's crazy how they cover so much and everybody uses it as their base, like my laptop, Windows base, automatically. Apple's Mac OS vulnerabilities often stem from its Unix-based architecture, and weaknesses generally appear in access control, secure boot processes, and third-party software. Yeah, this one specifically right there. There we go. This one, this one right here for Apple, for OS, Apple. This one specifically. Apple macOS has smaller user base than Windows, but its popularity has grown significantly. Yeah, kinda. Generally, macOS is perceived as being safer than other operating systems, which can lead to complacency. Yeah, yeah. That is. This is like if you never thought anything, you probably think macOS is safer than Windows. Linux is a prevalent server OS, but can also be used as a desktop or mobile OS. The open source nature of Linux and a large community of active developers support a very rapid pace of development. This generally results in quick identification and repair of vulnerabilities. Kernel vulnerabilities, misconfigurations, and unpatched systems are common issues in Linux. Despite its reputation for security, its widespread use in the cloud and server infrastructure makes Linux vulnerabilities especially significant. Oh, excuse me, burps. Oh, excuse me, burps. Oh, burps. Excuse me. Okay. The widespread adoption of mobile OS like Android and iOS and their increasing use as primary computing platforms instead of traditional computers make them valuable targets for attack and exploitation. Android is open source like Linux, resulting in similar benefits and problems. Additionally, Android is fragmented among different manufacturers and versions, resulting in inconsistent patching and update support. iOS, while now open source like Android, has also been impacted by several significant vulnerabilities. The significance of OS vulnerabilities cannot be overstated, especially as specialized embedded systems, such as IoT, uh, are added to our surroundings. Each system runs specialty operating systems and introduces vulnerabilities and potential pathways into corporate infrastructures. Microsoft Windows, examples of OS vulnerabilities. So apparently there was a notorious Windows vulnerability. It was the MS-0x67 vulnerability in the Windows Server service. It was a lot of devices that were remote into allowed a remote code execution, especially crafted packet was sent to a Windows server. Okay. The vulnerability was exploited by the configure worm in 2008. Configure. Interesting choice of labeling. Okay. Which affected millions of computers worldwide. Additionally, MS-1710 represents a significant and critical security update released by Microsoft in 2017. This update addressed multiple vulnerabilities in Microsoft implementation of server message block (SMB). Ooh, we blocked this. That could allow remote code execution (RCE). Essentially, these vulnerabilities, if exploited, could allow an attacker to install programs, view, change, or delete data, or create new accounts with full user rights. Yeah, SMB is not a really much used protocol nowadays. Mac OS in 2014, a significant vulnerability called shell shock was affected all Unix-based systems, including macOS. It allowed attackers to potentially gain control over a system due to a flaw in a bad shell. Though it originated from a component in Unix systems, its impact was felt in macOS due to its Unix-based architecture. This okay, Android. Okay, so Mac got one called Shell Shock. Okay, based on its bad shell. Android. Android, the stage fright. That's a funny name, huh? Stage fright. Scared on going on stage. Got stage fright. Well, discovered in 2015 is a prominent example for Android. It allowed attackers to execute malicious code on an Android device by sending a specially crafted MMS message. Oh man, I remember these. This issue was particularly severe due to the ubiquity of the vulnerable component, the stage fright media library across Android versions and devices. Okay. iOS in 2019. Google's Project Zero, the team discovered several vulnerabilities in iOS that nation state attackers were abusing. The watering hole attacks took advantage of several vulnerabilities to gain full access to the device by having the victim visit a malicious website. Ooh. Linux. Linux, the heartbleed bug. That is it, golly. In 2014, was a severe vulnerability in many Linux systems OpenSSL cryptographic software library. The vulnerability allowed attackers to read the system's memory running the OpenSSL software vulnerable versions. Ooh, so he was able to read it. What was on that computer? Okay. Compromising the secret keys used to protect data. Interesting. Okay, let's get to the next page. 231 is done. Vulnerability types. Legacy and end of life and end of life systems. Okay, we don't really need to read this, I'm not gonna lie. Obviously, we know when a device is end of life, you should stop using it. All right? Simple. When a device is EOL, replace it. All right. Okay. All right. You know, unless you want to be potentially hacked. It's on you. If you good, you got yourself, you know how to protect yourself, you're straight. But if you don't, you might not be. All right, firmware vulnerabilities. Firmware is the foundational software that controls hardware and can contain significant vulnerabilities. Ooh, firmware is the foundation. Did you know firmware was and is the foundational software that controls hardware and can contain significant vulnerabilities? Golly, I destroyed that the second time I read that. Is the foundational software that controls hardware and can contain significant vulnerabilities. We'll read that again for a third time. Okay. Meltdown and Spectre vulnerabilities identified in 2018 impact almost all computers and mobile devices. Good lord. The vulnerability was associated with the processors and used a computer and allowed malicious programs to steal data as it was being processed. Ooh, interesting. Another vulnerability, low jacks. Oh, let me get the low jacks. Nope, I don't want it actually. No low jacks for me, buddy. Like Apple jacks, you get it? All right, never mind. Oh, discovered in the Unified Extensible Firmware (UEFI) firmware in 2018 enabled an attacker to persist on the system even after complete hard drive replacement. Oh, golly, that's tough. So they was on the computer after you try to save yourself from what was on the computer. Mm. Virtualization vulnerabilities. While numerous while offering numerous benefits such as cost saving, scalability, and efficiency, virtualization also introduces unique vulnerabilities. A significant one is the concept of VM escape. Oh, no, the VM escape. This happens when an attacker with an access to a virtual machine breaks out of an isolated environment and gains access to the host or the VMs running on the same host. Oh, such a vulnerability could allow an attacker to gain control of all virtual machines running on a single physical server, leading to a potentially devastating security breach. Yeah, I can see how that worked. Yeah, the whole oof. Ali. A famous example of is the cloudburst vulnerability in VM's virtual machine display function. The cloudburst vulnerability, officially designated as CVE 2009-1244, was a critical security flaw discovered in 2019 in VMware's EXX server, a popular enterprise level virtualization platform. A vulnerability coughed. A vulnerability in the virtual machine display function allowed a guest operating system to execute code on the host operating system. Cough got stuck. Pause. Oh man. Another significant vulnerability associated with virtualization involves resources reuse. Okay, blah, blah, blah. And then delete it in a virtualization environment. If the resources such as disk space or memory are not properly sanitized between each use, sensitive data could be leaked between virtual machines. For instance, a new virtual machine could be maybe allocated disk space that was previously used by another VM. And if disk space was not properly wiped, the new VM could recover sensitive data from the previous VM. Not clean, just dirty. Dirty work. Thorough data centralization process practices ensuring data encryption throughout the lifecycle and implementing robust encryption key management practices mitigate the risk of resource reuse in cloud infrastructure. Okay, understandable. Excuse me. Training on cloud provider security features and best practices and segregating resources based on security levels also mitigates risk. Virtualization platforms depend upon specialized hypervisors that contain security vulnerabilities and weaknesses. Attackers exploit hypervisors to gain unauthorized access and compromise the virtual machines, VMs, running on them. Hypervisors typically provide specialized management interfaces so administrators can control and monitor their virtualized environments. These interfaces can become potential attack vectors if insecure. For example, weak authentication, lack of encryption, or vulnerabilities in communication protocols can lead to unauthorized access to the virtualized environment. Like any software, hypervisors have vulnerabilities that must be regularly patched. So, what did we read? We read that no matter what environment you're in, there are vulnerabilities. Okay, and they must be patched, like as a human. Let's relate this to a story. If you got depression, that's a vulnerability that must be patched. Just let you know. I'm just letting you know. Nothing's wrong with it. Everybody gets it, but it's a vulnerability that must be patched. Just letting you know. It's funny. Okay, zero-day vulnerability. Zero-day vulnerability refers to previously unknown software or hardware flaws that attackers can exploit. Oh yeah. I'm the first one there, baby. They didn't know it was there, and I found it. The term zero-day signifies that developers have 0 days to fix the problem once the vulnerability becomes known. These vulnerabilities are significant because they can cause widespread damage before a patch is available. Yeah, golly. An attacker exploiting the zero-day vulnerability can compromise systems, steal sensitive data, and launch further attacks, or cause other forms of harm, often undetected. The stealth and unpredictability of zero-day attacks makes them particularly dangerous. They are a favorite tool of advanced threat vectors. Threat actors, I said vectors, sorry. Actors, such as organized crime groups and nation state attackers, who often use them in targeted attacks against high value targets, such as governmental institutions and major corporations. Since these vulnerabilities are known to the public or the vendor during exploitation, traditional security measures like antivirus software and firewalls, which rely on known signatures or attack patterns, are often ineffective against them. The discovery of zero-day vulnerability typically triggers a race between threat actors who aim to exploit it and developers who work to patch it. Upon discovering a zero-day vulnerability, ethical security researchers usually follow a process known as responsible disclosure, which is designed to privately inform the vendor so a patch can be developed before the vulnerability is publicly disclosed. This practice aims to limit the potential harm caused by discovering a zero-day vulnerability. Zero-day vulnerabilities have significant financial value. A zero-day exploit for a mobile OS can be worth millions of dollars. Consequently, an adversary will use a zero-day vulnerability for high-value attacks. State, security, and law enforcement agencies are known to stockpile zero days to facilitate the mm, to stockpile 0 days to facilitate the investigation of crimes. Golly, my tongue got stuck. All right, so what did we read here in 0 days? 0 day is something that was not previously known, right? And it happens sometimes, right? You create something, and sometimes you create something, you're not like, oh man, I didn't even think about that. And then somebody decides, and now I'm going to try to take advantage. So now you have to decide: are you going to take care of that faster than they take advantage of it? So a 0 day vulnerability, it really puts the pedal to the metal. You really got to think quick and work fast and smart, and not in order to not create any more vulnerabilities by patching the same one. And also you truthfully got to look through the whole network more than likely, or the entire infrastructure if it's not more than a network, right? The entire infrastructure, whatever it is that's going on, to see if there's anything that was left behind. So that's one of the big things about 0 day vulnerabilities, is if something got left behind on purpose, so they can get back in even after you patch, right? So, all right. Misconfiguration vulnerabilities. Ugh, nasty. Misconfiguration of system networks or applications are common causes of security vulnerabilities. These can lead to unauthorized access, data leaks, or even full system compromises. These occur. Occur is crazy. Occurred across many areas within an IT environment, from network equipment and servers to databases and applications. In a cloud environment, misconfigurations such as improperly managed access permissions or storage buckets can lead to significant data leaks. Excusez-moi. I'm reading, had a burp. All right. Now let's see if we need to read the rest of this. If there's nothing in here that's worth reading, I am not going to read 3 paragraphs of fluff. you know? All right. Okay, default configuration of systems. Obviously, you don't want to use default configurations. This is obviously not smart, right? It's all obviously a source of a vulnerability, right? You want to create your own vulnerability. You want not your own vulnerability. You want to create your own configurations, right? That are specific to your specific network or whatever it is that you're building, right? Whether that was server, or some switches or some routers or some firewalls, or I don't know, some cloud infrastructure, or some some VM somewhere. Whatever it is, you don't want to use whatever is there by default, right? You want to make it personal to you, so that you are protected from somebody looking for those default stuff. Um, So no default usernames and passwords. Get this out of here, boy. Admin. Who is this? Why are you doing that? All right, but a lot of appliances come in with these default things, but you just change them once you get in there, right? Create your own username and password. Um, all right. Cloud service may often have. I just said this. You don't want to use the default. You want to make it personal to you and your company, or if it's not even it's a company, if it's just to you and your crib, make it personal to you. Right? If you want to access your stuff from remotely from when you're traveling around the world, right? And you just want to get into your own home internet network, right? And be safe and secure as you're browsing, right? Might as well. So you gotta create some specific parameters so nobody else is getting in there doing stuff like that, though. Um, Similarly, though, installing new software or modifying existing software configuration can introduce unexpected vulnerabilities or leave the system less secure. And I was just talking about this. Didn't even see it there, but I knew it was going to be there, man. Yeah, remote access tools, remote tools. They need to be locked down as well. You need to lock them down to safe reports. You know, and yeah, test and improvement documentation. You better do some documentation, testing and improving. There we go. Cryptographic vulnerabilities. Let's get right into it. Cryptographic vulnerabilities refer to weaknesses in cryptographic systems, protocols, or algorithms that can be exploited to compromise data. The significance of such vulnerabilities is profound, as cryptography forms the backbone of secure communication and data protection in modern digital systems. Moreover, weaknesses in cryptographic algorithms themselves can also pose a threat. For instance, MD5 and SHA-1. Oh, them's the oldest protocols in the book, man. Not really, but they are some of the first ones of the new age, yeah. Once widely used cryptographic hash functions are now considered insecure due to vulnerabilities that allow for collision attacks, where two different inputs can produce the same hash output, which is particularly troubling in scenarios where hashes are used to protect passwords. So, definitely going to be a question. Not gonna lie. It's definitely going to be a question. This is the most bait question ever. It's definitely going to be a question. Bait. Well, you know what's bait is bait. Come on now. Once widely used cryptographic hash functions are now considered insecure due to vulnerabilities that allow for collision attacks. So what is a vulnerability? Collision attacks. What happens? They punch each other in the face because they're able to mimic it. Oh, where two different inputs produce the same hash output. Yes, exactly, because they're able to mimic it, which is particularly troubling in scenarios where hashes are used to protect passwords. Practical examples of cryptographic vulnerabilities include Heartbleed vulnerability, which exploited a flaw in OpenSSL cryptographic library, allowing attackers to read otherwise secure communication. Um, and another example, and I'm sorry for reading so fast, chat. I had something on my tooth. Had to get it off my tooth. Allowing attackers to read otherwise secure communication. Another example is the crack. Key reinstallation attacks. Vulnerability in a WPA2 protocol that protects Wi Fi traffic. Oh my goodness. This vulnerability allows an attacker within range of a victim to intercept and decrypt some types of sensitive network traffic. WPA2, man. Legacy. All right. Better get on that 3 or beyond. Well, symmetric and asymmetric encryption algorithms and cipher suites can also have vulnerabilities that lead to potential security issues. One of the most significant vulnerabilities in symmetric encryption algorithms is the use of weak keys. Oof. The data encryption standard DES and 3DS. Oof, I already knew it was going to be there. I said it and I saw it. Once a popular symmetric encryption standard was found to be vulnerable to brute force attacks due to its 56-bit key size. The DES, developed in the early 1970s, golly, was first publicly demonstrated to be vulnerable to brute force attacks. I'm gonna get in there if I want to, no matter what you say. That's what a brute force attack is. I'm punching the wall several times till it comes down. That's what a brute force attack is. In the late 1990s, this led to its replacement by more secure standards such as Triple DS, 3DS, and eventually the advanced standard AES. Triple DES, 3DS, which applies to the DS algorithm 3 times to protect data, was considered significantly more secure than DES, obviously, when it was initially introduced. However, with continued advancement of computational power and the discovery of additional attack methods, 3DS vulnerabilities have been found, most notably Sweet 32. birthday attack. CVE 2016-2183. Published in August 2016. The U.S. National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST, officially deprecated 3DS in 2017 and recommended its discontinuation by 2023. Some asymmetric encryption algorithms have vulnerabilities. For instance, RSA keys. What is it? Mhm. A widely used public key crypto system can be vulnerable if small key sizes are used. Yeah. Or the random number generation for creating the keys is also yeah. Also, the same key pair is used for a extended period in an asymmetric scheme. In an asymmetric scheme, the likelihood of a key being compromised increases. Cipher suites, which describe combinations of encryption algorithms used in protocols like SSL and TLS, can also have vulnerabilities. Secure socket layer, baby, is commonly used to secure web browser sessions, encrypting communication between a browser and a web server, and essentially turning an HTTP web address into secure HTTPS address. SSL TLS is also used for secure email transmission. SMTP, POP, and IMAP protocols secure voice over IP VoIP calls, and secure file transfers. Secure file transfers, FTP. I thought it was SFTP, but okay. In all these cases, SSL, golly, SSL/TLS helps protect sensitive data from being intercepted and read by unauthorized parties. Other network applications and services also use SLS, golly, SLL, SSL, S SSL, 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 SSL. Super socket, super simple, super simple songs. Secure socket layer, super Chris. Yeah, let's get it. SSL TLS. I'm ready. Ready to come back to it. In all these cases, SSL, TLS, I told you I was ready, helps protect sensitive data from being intercepted and read by unauthorized parties. Other networked applications and services also use SSL/TLS. Told you I was ready, including VPN connections to applications and mobile apps that transmit sensitive data. Prominent examples of attacks against Cyber Suite vulnerabilities include Beast, not Mr. Beast, browser exploit against SSL, TLS, and Poodle, padding Oracle on downgraded legacy encryption. Okay. Attacks that target weaknesses in Cyber Suites used by SSL and early versions of TLS. You didn't know there were versions of TLS, did you? Better look it up. Both attacks exploited similar implementation flaws. Protecting cryptographic keys. Okay, let's get into it. How do we protect our keys, guys and ladies? Generating and protecting cryptographic keys is crucial for ensuring the security and integrity of sensitive information. The most robust cryptographic system is rendered useless if the keys used to protect that are weak and poorly guarded. Facts, obviously. If you can't, I mean, if there's anything, you know, if if you got a 6 foot tall stack of money and you got somebody who 2 feet standing in front of it who don't know how to fight, that 6 foot stack of money getting stolen. All right. Oh man. So you better put somebody who know what they're doing in front of it. Exactly. That's all I'm saying. Cryptographic key generation describes the process of creating cryptographic keys for encryption, decryption, and authentication or other uses. It is important to use industry best practices practices. I don't say practices, but it didn't say practice. It said practice, and approaches when generating cryptographic keys to ensure they cannot be guessed or brute forced. You know, cryptographic key protection requires implementing specialized security measures to safeguard keys from unauthorized access or disclosure, as cryptographic keys are typically nothing more than strings of alphanumeric characters stored in simple text files. Common secure storage practices are secure storage systems, such as hardware security modules, HSMs. What did we learn about them earlier? The bag. HSM got the bag. And we got to secure the system with the bangers, right? All right. Or key management systems, KMS. No one Thank you for the protection, Jesus. Implementing proper access controls and authentication mechanisms and regularly monitoring and auditing key usage. Additionally, organizations must periodically change cryptographic keys, also referred to as key rotation. You gotta rotate the keys. Gotta rotate the keys, the keys. Gotta rotate the keys, the keys. Gotta have the yolk, the yellow, the baking soda, the gorgonzola, the apple jacks, the all of them. Common secure key storage practices are key storage systems such as hardware security, modules, HSMs. You already read that, so I'm already done with this one. I was about to read the same lines again, but I don't have to. I don't have to. Got to periodically change the keys, restricting them so they don't get brute forced. Okay. All right. What do we say brute force is? I'm gonna punch the wall till I get through. Side loading, rooting, and jailbreaking. Oh, we're let's get into it. Mobile devices. Ooh, I remember these back in the days. iPhone, iPhone jailbreak. Oh, I'm rooting the end. Y'all remember this back in the days? Y'all remember this? Oh man, I haven't done jailbreaking and rooting of Android or iPhone in a while. But oh my goodness, back in the days when I was first getting into loving the stuff, doing the stuff, boy, it was annoying. It's fun though. Okay, rooting and jailbreaking are methods used to gain elevated privileges and access is way easier to root Android than it is to jailbreak an iPhone. And access the system files on mobile devices. This allows users to bypass certain restrictions imposed by device manufacturer or operating systems. Well, back in the days, I've been using Android forever. Might want to get one soon though. Rooting involves gaining root access or administrative privileges on an Android device to modify system files, install custom ROMs. I remember doing that, modified operating system versions, and access features and systems not available to regular users. I used to customize my Android home screens with the roots. Would have them do cool stuff with my apps and stuff. Yeah, I was a kid, bro. I was just a kid having fun. But yeah, jailbreaking though. While this term can apply to any device, it's primarily used to describe gaining full access to an iOS device. Yeah, facts. By removing the limitations imposed by Apple iOS operating system, jailbreaking allows users to install unauthorized apps, customize the device appearance and behavior, access system files, and bypass restrictions implemented by Apple, getting into phones that were not yours. That was the only reason for jailbreaking the phone. Getting into phones that were not yours was the only reason for jailbreaking the phone. Um, well, an iPhone. The practice of sideloading application refers to installing applications from sources other than official app store of the platform, such as Google Play Store or Apple's App Store for iOS. I used to use sideloading, I guess, if that's what it's called. Applications. I can't remember what they were though. Um, but to get like random apps or like apps that did cool stuff without all the restrictions. Ooh. To get all the apps that did the cool stuff without all the restrictions, but you got to be careful because it's dangerous. Uh, you know, it's dangerous. So I had burner phones when I was a kid. Don't ask why I had burner phones. I just had burner phones. It's none of your business. You know, I had burner phones when I was a kid. You feel me? So I would play on them. I don't remember how I was getting them. I truthfully don't even couldn't even remember how I was getting on these burner phones, but I was getting them. I don't even know where I had the money to pay for them. I'm just really thinking out loud right now. I'm telling you, bro. When there's where there's a will, there's a way. Especially when you got that we got that man Jesus. Hold up, chat. My mom's calling me. Let me meet y'all real quick. Ons. Okay, buds, we're back. I'm going to continue. Got to get through this chapter today, man. Got to get through this chapter today. Cannot put this off. Got to get through this chapter today. Okay. The practice of side-loading applications imposes significant risk as side-loaded apps do not undergo the same scrutiny as vetted processes of those. Yeah, I already read that in my head, but not to you guys. Yeah, yeah, because those apps are dangerous. Of course, obviously, they're from sketchy app stores. Of course, you're gonna do that. Sometimes you take the risk for the reward. Sometimes, yeah, and sometimes, yeah, you just take the risk for the reward, and you get rewarded and have fun. Yeah. Additionally, apps that require excessive access permissions can raise significant security and privacy concerns. So yeah, you don't download those ones, obviously. Apps with excessive, you also read the permissions when you're on these sketchy websites or these sketchy application stores downloading stuff. Well, when I was a kid, obviously you read these. Um, I never used no F Droid. Oh, I would use that for. Seems too similar, like trying to knock off the App Store or something. I need to buy. I need to. Okay, right back to it. Back to it. Okay. Clean my mouth. Sorry. You let this mic is picking up everything. I clean my mouth though. Can't be talking with a dirty mouth. Mm, mm. Be quiet. Rooting, sideloading, and jailbreaking often offers users greater control and flexibility over their devices, but they also introduce many risks for organizations. Rooting, sideloading, and jailbreaking can weaken the security measures implemented by the device manufacturer and operating system, and make it easier for attackers to exploit vulnerabilities, install malware, or gain unauthorized access to sensitive corporate information. Well, why would you be rooting and sideloading and jailbreaking a company phone? You would have to be being trying to be malicious in the first place to be doing that. Not gonna lie, or doing something sketchy. Sideloading is generally associated with Android devices utilizing APK Android application packages. Uh, While applications can also be sideloaded on Apple devices, the practice directly violates Apple's terms and conditions. Page 13, jailbreaking devices. Voiding a device's license and terms eliminates official support from the manufacturer, meaning the device may no longer receive security patches, bugs, fixes, or updates, leaving it vulnerable to new threats and exploits. Organizations operating in regulated industries such as healthcare or finance should implement strict policy prohibiting rooting, sideloading, and jailbreaking. I got food on my mouth, man. I clean my mouth with a watermelon. 1 second. There we go. There we go. Mouth clean. Excuse me. All right. Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't understand why they would be doing that. Due to increased risk of data breaches and compliance violations, mobile device management (MDM) platforms can detect and restrict rooting, jailbreaking, and side loading. Yep, that's what I'm talking about with the companies. You know, uh, when they ask you to get to your phones, they put the mobile device management up there so they can manage your device for the most part. So that it pretty much keeps you from being a point of failure in the company. But that's only if you use their platforms and stuff on your phone. So I'd advise you to get a burner phone, and then it'd be like a decent burner phone that's still good to be updated by the by Apple or Android, and then you can put, and then they can monitor that phone if they want to, because ain't nothing on it. Use an alternate account, so they can't be peering into your life and your business. Regular employee education and awareness programs are also crucial to ensure employees understand the risk, but you also still get the full functionality from the company, right? And you're able to like, do your have your freedom and stuff from being stuck at your desk or something. And yeah, because that's what having the applications from the company on your phone really frees you up for, that you can freely chat. Not freely chat, but like kind of like message and say I'll be away from my desk, pretty much. You can't do that, but you don't have their stuff on your phone. Such as insecure Wi-Fi connection, phishing attacks, and unpatched software vulnerabilities. Given their portable nature, mobile devices are also likely to be lost or stolen, potentially exposing any unencrypted data stored on the device. Yeah, that is also a thing. Cell phones are like a lost item most of the time. Cloud-based application attacks target applications hosted on cloud platforms and exploit potential vulnerabilities within these applications or the cloud infrastructure they run on to carry out malicious activities. Cloud-based application attacks generally involve the exploitation of misconfigurations in the cloud environment, weak authentication mechanisms, insufficient network segmentation, or poorly implemented access controls. Compared to traditional application attacks, cloud-based attacks have some unique characteristics. In a cloud environment, the shared responsibility model can lead to confusion about who's responsible for what, potentially leading to security gaps that attackers can exploit. Okay, the higher accessible and scalable nature of the cloud can make cloud-based applications attractive targets for attackers. For example, an attack can and may exploit a vulnerability in a cloud-based application, resulting in access to other resources. Obviously, what an attacker is trying to do is get in, but they're trying to get access to everything, not just the one thing they got into. Some attacks types are largely specific to cloud, such as side channel attack. This is what I was trying to get to. The specifics of the cloud that we're talking about here. Now I want to read. Some attacks types are largely specific to the cloud, such as side channel attacks, where an attacker with an instance running on the same physical service as the victim attempts to extract information from the victim instance via shared resources. Attackers can exploit misconfigurations and weak security controls in cloud environments to gain unauthorized access to sensitive data and improperly secured cloud storage buckets. Okay, I mean, it's the same as a person exploiting in real life, exploiting a weak link in the group, to get information out of them. Same thing. Ain't no different. You ain't no different. It don't make you special. I do that too. I'm just joking. Uh, so what they're saying, okay. So cloud-based attacks are typically attacks that where they're targeting a weak link, and that's what all attacks are anyways. Is the weak link. So you always want to know what your weak link is, and you want to know how to protect it. Obviously, what is your weakest link in every industry? The people working it. All right. Cloud as an attack platform. What's up, baby girl? Cloud as an attack platform. Attackers can also use cloud platforms for phishing and malware distribution. They can easily set up fraudulent websites that mimic legitimate ones on cloud services and use these sites to trick users into revealing sensitive information. In addition, they can exploit cloud storage services to host malicious files and then distribute these files via phishing emails or other means. Oh yeah, they've set up fraudulent websites based on built through the cloud infrastructure. Hey, word that word that properly, okay? So all they said in this paragraph was people can create a crowd can create a cloud infrastructure just to create some fraudulent websites. They can buy up some stuff and spin up their own websites using cloud infrastructure, and it looks super legitimate, right? But it's just it's just fake. Just to steal some information. Cloud access security brokers. A cloud access security broker, CASB, I don't know how dyslexia, is enterprise management software. I'm just joking. Software designed to mediate access to cloud services by users across all types of devices. CASB vendors include Symantec, Sky High Security, ForcePoint, Microsoft Cloud App Security, and Cisco Cloud Lock. Mhm. CSA CASBs provide visibility into how clients and other network nodes are using cloud services. Some of the functions of a CASB are the following. They enable single sign-on authentication and enforce access controls. Okay, so this is some good information to remember. So it enables single sign-on authentication, enforces access controls and authorization for the enterprise network to the cloud provider, scan for malware and rogue non-compliant devices, and a monitor audit users' research activity and mitigate data exfiltration by preventing access to unauthorized cloud services from managed devices. Okay, so a cloud access security broker is an enterprise management software designed to mediate access to cloud services by users across all types of devices. So how could I create that in my mind? A cloud access security broker is enterprise management software designed to mediate access to cloud services by users across all types of devices. Okay, I get it. Okay. Sorry, chat. Is enterprise management software designed to mediate access to cloud services by users across all types of devices? Okay. Okay. Oh man, my ear was itching. Sometimes my ear be ringing in a funny way. Okay, in general, CSBs are implemented in one of three ways. For proxy, it is a security appliance or host position at the client network edge that forwards user traffic to the cloud network. If the contents of that traffic comply with a policy, this requires configuration of users, devices, or installation of an agent. In this mode, the proxy can inspect all traffic in real time, even if the traffic is not bound for sanctioned cloud applications. The problem with this mode is that users may be able to evade the proxy and connect directly. Proxies are also associated with poor performance, as without a low balancing solution, they become a bottleneck and potentially a single point of failure. Interesting. Makes sense. You can avoid a proxy. You can spoof a proxy. Okay, reverse proxy is positioned at the cloud network edge and directs traffic to cloud services if the contents of that traffic comply with a policy. This does not require configuration of the user's devices. This approach is only possible if the cloud application has proxy support. Okay, APIs. Brokerage connections, my foot is falling asleep, between the cloud service and the cloud consumer, rather than placing a CSP appliance or host in line when toes are asleep. Three of my toes asleep, two of my toes awake. With cloud customers and the cloud services. For example, if a user account has been disabled or an authorization has been revoked, API use tokens on the local network. API based CSB will communicate this to the cloud service and uses API to disable access there too. This depends on the API supporting the range of the function that the CASB and access and that functions that the CSB and access and authorization policies demand. CSB solutions are quite likely to use both proxy and API modes for different security management purposes. That makes sense. So a forward proxy is like a security card at the door, right? He's like, I'm here, and if you get and if I let you through the door, you can go. You feel me? You can go in, you do what you need to do. The problem though with a security guard at the door though is you can bypass the security guard at the door and get in through your own little ways. You get straight to going straight into a party. You know, nobody even knew you was there. Then blam, the party lit up. All right. For reverse proxy, it's positioned at the cloud network edge and directs traffic to cloud services if the contents of the traffic comply with the policy. This does not require configurations of the user's devices. This approach is only possible if the cloud application has proxy support. Hmm, okay. Sorry, I'm just like putting it together in my mind. All right, let me go to the next chapter. Service suppliers. Okay. supply chain. So software supply chain vulnerabilities refer to the potential risk and weaknesses introduced into software products during their development, distribution, and maintenance lifecycle. This supply chain describes many stages from initial coding to end user deployment and includes various service providers, hardware providers, and software providers. Service providers. Service providers such as cloud services or third party development agencies play a role in the software supply chain by offering development, testing, and deployment platforms or directly contributing to the software's code base. Vulnerabilities can be introduced if these services have inadequate security measures or if the communication between these services and the rest of the supply chain is not secure correctly. Hardware suppliers. Hardware suppliers play a crucial role in the software supply chain and can potentially and can be potential sources of vulnerabilities. The hardware on which software runs or interacts forms the base of the technology stack. If this hardware layer is compromised, it can lead to severe security issues. This is particularly true for firmware or low level software drivers interacting closely with the hardware. If a hardware supplier fails to apply robust security practice in their design and manufacture processes, it can introduce vulnerabilities that compromise the entire system. For example, a hardware component could come with pre-installed firmware and contains a known vulnerability, or it might be susceptible to physical tampering that leads to a breach in security. Similarly, hardware devices often require specific drivers to function correctly. If these drivers are not updated regularly or sourced from unreliable providers, they can introduce vulnerabilities into the software stack. Furthermore, hardware suppliers often provide the entire stack running on the device for IoT and embedded systems, making them a significant factor in a system's overall security. Therefore, if it is crucial for software supply chain security to ensure that the hardware suppliers adhere to stringent security standards and that the hardware components and associated low-level software are regularly updated and patched to address any potential vulnerabilities. Finger itch. Okay. Software providers. Software providers, including makers of libraries, frameworks, and other third-party components used in the software, are common sources of vulnerabilities. If third-party components have vulnerabilities or are outdated, they can expose the entire application to potential attacks. In all these relationships, trust is implicitly placed in each provider to maintain high security, and if any link in this chain, my voice cracked, to meet the to meet the expectations, it can lead to software supply chain vulnerabilities. Software bill of materials. A software bill of materials, SBOM, SBOM. No, no. It's a comprehensive inventory of all components in the software product. Blah, 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 blah. This includes the primary application code and all dependencies, such as libraries, frameworks, and other third-party components. Ooh, the SBOM includes details like component names, versions, and information about the suppliers. The SBOM aims to provide transparency and visibility into the software supply chain, which specifically can help mitigate software supply chain issues. By detailing all components used in the software product, an SBOM enables developers, security teams, and end users to understand the functional components of their software. This visibility, this visibility aims at identifying potential vulnerabilities in third-party components, allowing them to be patched or replaced before issues materialize. It also helps track software components' origins. Components, it's not origins, origin. So components, origin. Ensuring they come from trusted sources. After a vulnerability disclosure or a security incident, SBOM supports rapid response and remediation. Security teams can quickly determine whether the software is affected by a disclosed vulnerability in a particular component and take appropriate action. An SBOM is a critical tool for managing and securing the software supply chain because it contributes to a more proactive and informed approach to identifying and managing potential software supply chain issues. Dependency analysis and SBOM tools. The tools in your shed. I got a screwdriver, I got a hammer, and I got a flathead, and I got a measuring tape. All of those. The OWASP dependency check is a software composition analysis SCA tool that identifies project dependencies and checks if there are any known publicly disclosed vulnerabilities associated with them. This tool is very useful for creating a software bill of materials as BOM, although it's not its primary function. Dependency check can generate a report detailing all the libraries and components used in a software project and their respective versions. This type of report serves as a baseline for creating an SBOM, as it lists all the components that the software depends on. Furthermore, the report includes known vulnerabilities associated with these components, a valuable addition to an SBOM from a security perspective. Dependency check is designed primarily to assist in detecting outdated or vulnerable components and does not provide all the information typically included in an SBOM, such as licensing information or a complete list of all subcomponents. For a more comprehensive SBOM that includes additional information, others tools like OWASP tool track. Oh, I'll try to read that a little fast, but I'm gonna mess it up a little bit. OWASP dependency track use the output from dependency check or other dedicated SBOM tools that follow SPDX or OWASP Cyclone DX standards. SPDX software package data exchange is an open standard for communicating software bill of material information including component identification, licensing, and security references. Cyclone DX is a lightweight specification designed to provide a more streamlined way to share and analyze SBOM data. All right, well, now let's actually learn what we just read instead of playing around so much. Okay, all right, okay. So, what is a dependency analysis and SBOM tools? Okay, so dependency check is a software composition analysis tool that identifies project dependencies and checks if there are any known publicly disclosed vulnerabilities associated with them. Okay, so it goes and checks based on a database if there are any vulnerabilities associated with it, right? So it's going to check it based on a database. All things check based on something, right? This tool is very useful for creating a software bill of materials as BOM, although it's not its primary function. So it can be used for the software bill of materials for the SBOM, but it's not its primary function. You understand? Yep. Yeah, it serves as a baseline to create an SBOM. Okay. But what is an SBOM? A software bill of materials is a comprehensive inventory of all components in a software product. Okay. So a software bill of materials, an SBOM, is a comprehensive inventory of all components in a software product. But what does that even mean, buddy? This includes the primary application code and all dependencies such as libraries, frameworks, and other third-party components. So what does that include? It includes all these little things that we use in our computers. Okay, these SBOM includes details like component names, versions, and information about the suppliers. Okay, and SBOM aims to provide transparency and visibility into the software supply chain, which can significantly help mitigate software supply chain issues. So it helps to keep things documented and keeps things transparent. By detailing all components used in a software product, an SBOM enables developers, security teams, and end users to understand the functional components of their software. So it is a tool for documentation. It's a documentation tool that helps you understand what you're doing and what you're using. That's nice. All right, now we're in 2.4. This is the last chapter of this one. So by classifying the various types of malware and identifying the signs of infection, security teams are better prepared to remediate compromised systems or prevent malware from execute in the first place. Understanding how physical network wireless and credential based attacks are perpetrated and being able to diagnose their indicators from appropriate data sources will help you to prevent and remediate intrusion events. Bro, it's been an hour. Okay, chat, we're gonna take a break. It's already been an hour. I'll see you in 15.